Welcome back to Theoretical Insights of D&D, where you can play the Blood Hunter without having to copy Geralt of Rivia. Hi, I'm Jeremiah.
And I'm Rob.
And I'm Theoretic Eric, as dubbed in the last episode.
He did it.
Oh, should we restart with our titles that we have?
No.
Hi, I'm Insightful Jerry.
Come on, Rob.
No.
He's Improv Rob, and we have...
Theoretic Eric.
Yep. That's our new call signs right now.
Sure.
Well, I guess it's a good thing that Improv Rob, is sitting in on this one.
We gotta make shirts. Come on now.
Hey, look, first print is Lord Give Me a Fireball. That was the first catchphrase of the show.
That'll work.
Yeah, that was a Cleric episode.
I'm gonna have a crew shirt with my name right here, and then crew on the back, and then Theoretic on the back.
We should get like those biker patches.
Each class, and then subclasses, and
Oh, yeah, dude. Like a letter jacket. Heck yeah.
Man, that'd be so cool.
every time you play the class and subclass, you get a patch.
But no, today, Eric has prepared a little bit of a setup for a kind of like a plot line or a...
Kind of a backstory for
Yeah.
the campaign.
We had an episode that was kind of similar to the premise that we're doing today.
Yeah.
We had the a godless universe premise and like what that would look like, what it could possibly look like, and kind of like a world building thing. This time we're doing another world building episode, and that we may do more. Who knows? But this one,
Let's be honest, it depends on how this one performs.
honestly, this one is an improv world build.
Well, you've got a scrub giving a campaign backstory to two DMs. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
So here's how it's going to work. Eric, you're going to present to us your little tidbit, the plot hook, this plot line for us. And then you are going to ask us questions, one at a time. And we take turns on answering the question, no matter what. Sounds good?
interesting.
All right, let's get this thing underway. Eric, present to us.
Okay. So, I didn't have a lot of time to think about this. I had like a week. But the setup is basically, alright, just keep it to yourself.
I didn't say anything.
You guys sit over
I didn't
there.
have a lot of time. Well, I had a week. He had a week.
That's not a long time.
Bro, that is 7 times 24 hours.
You know, I planned my last session in 20 minutes.
And I'm not a DM, thank you very much.
Okay.
I'm just a
Bro,
scrub.
you know how many sessions you've played in my games where I planned the day of?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The first campaign that I ran with you guys in there, every session was like the day
See,
of.
y'all are DMs.
Well, you'll get there one day.
And I don't plan on it.
No one does.
I'm just going to be a scrub.
You think Rob planned on being a DM? I was like,
Absolutely not.
I said, you'd be a good DM. Here you go.
Have.
And then you pieced out for 2 years.
I know, right? Piece of... what?
So what's this plot hook?
Anyways, I'm going off a lot of theater of the mind here.
Okay.
Zoom in to a funeral.
All right.
You've got 3 brothers standing over the casket or sarcophagus or whatever it would be. The giant big concrete stone caskets of their father. Sitting there going through the ceremony, the priest or whatever he be is, I guess it'd be a cleric in D&D, doing his whole thing. The older brother looks around at the crowd, and he notices a woman. I wouldn't say she would be scantily clad, but not really funeral attire.
Okay.
She gives him a look, and you see a little twinkle in her eye. And then, as he keeps looking around, he notices his younger brother and his baby brother. Well, the younger brother, the middle brother, we'll call him John. He notices the woman also. Well, he notices the twinkle. And that twinkle would be a little bit different, because as soon as he sees the twinkle, He goes for his blade, and then lunges at his brother. Joe is what I believe. Yeah, Joe.
The
And
older or the younger one?
The older,
Okay.
oldest brother, Joe. The middle brother, John, lunges at Joe with his sword. Arden, the youngest brother, tackles John to the ground. Blade goes off to the side. What, just like any other fight scene you've seen in the movie.
Okay.
They struggle around. Arden probably gets a few hits in. Just fight scene. Well, see, what was it? John gets up, grabs the blade, and runs. Because by the time their guards coming in, because John tried to assassinate his brother, there's royal guard around. It's younger brother Arden is tackling him. Family members are standing around. So John makes a break for it. And immediately goes for the woman. Grabs her and runs. Gets on a horse, out of the castle. They're gone. Well, let's see. The uncle, Ben, was watching John the whole time. Notices he went straight for the woman. After he just tried to assassinate his elder brother that their father just died, he would have taken over the kingdom. Okay, so Ben notices this. And it makes him think of an old, I guess it'd be a legend, myth, about a witch bewitching a son, killing their father to take over the kingdom. And he thinks it could be sort of the same situation. He tells the younger brother Arden about this. And Arden would be more of a intellectual brother, been picked on by two older brothers his whole life. So he spent most of his days in libraries and stuff, so he's probably heard of this. Joe, the one being attacked, is pissed. He wants to kill John. Because he just tried to assassinate him for the kingdom. Well, and that's where the whole story breaks off in this quote-unquote campaign. You get to choose. The party would choose between Arden trying to save his brother to remove the bewitchment or whatever was on him, and then you've got Joe, the one trying to kill him. And it's, I don't know, after several months is when the party would go after John's amassed an army. And the campaign would be it wouldn't be a long campaign. You choose to either go find ways to remove the curse, or you...
Oh no, it could be a very long campaign.
The part with the brother, however you decide to take out John, would be a short campaign. The bigger bad evil would be the witch, and what demons or beasts she would have. And then you could even take it any further to her master.
All right. Well, let's get to some building.
Yeah. You ask us any question. You decide who starts, Eric.
Let's go for insightful, Jerry.
All right.
Thank God. Nobody wants to go first.
Being this setup, what kind of magic would you have in this world?
I'm not thinking high magic. I'm thinking more like low or medium, because this creates a threat that is almost beyond what you would expect.
Okay.
Because I'd say low magic. Magic is still there, but it's very rare.
Okay.
Probably even like lower magic than like what you would see like in the Witcher TV show.
Mm-hmm.
That way it creates, the witch is not just, it's just another magic user. We can go get another magic user to solve the problem. It creates a threat where it's like, this is a special case. So it's a low magic setting.
Like medieval Europe with medieval Europe mythology with like witches and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Rob.
Well, I pretty much agree with him, but I would go purely low magic.
Okay.
because that's going to add in a level of danger.
Okay.
Think about it. Magic in this world is heavily misunderstood. Nobody really knows anything about it because it is so low magic.
Okay.
Now, you said specifically that Ben had heard about this happening in legends.
Yeah.
That's exactly why it would be low magic, because it's only been heard of in legend.
Legends and fairy tales and stuff.
So a legend or a tall tale come true.
Okay. Interesting. All right, we'll go back to Jeremiah with creatures. Not races, but creatures.
Well, the creatures, it does depend on the biome, of course. You'll see the standard, gator in a swamp,
Yeah.
deer in the woods, like stuff like that, obviously. You're not going to see a whole lot of monstrous creatures. They're rare, but you will see things like troglodytes. You'll see things like froghemoths, chimeras, a few griffins up in the mountain range. There's maybe one dragon, but no one, like, it's, everyone's like, oh, there's just a dragon in the mountain. No one's, like, got an actual, like, description of them besides it's a big, scaly beast with wings. Giants, not in this world, and they're just not there. No one's seen them. They could be off in a far-off continent, but here, the monsters are deadly because you don't know anything about them.
Okay.
Also, a fun fact, to make them more deadly, like mechanically, you up them up a little bit. We'll give them some buffs depending like on the bonuses. Like we'll give them more resistances, and we'll put some reasoning behind that. That way it's not just unnecessarily hard, but there's a weakness the party can exploit. And that way
with low magic, would they need that buff?
well, you can only ask us one question at a time, so that goes to Rob.
Creatures, realistically, until we build a biome, we can't really answer that really well. But humanoid, more often than not. If you want to mix in all the other races, whether it be human, elves, half-orc, orc, that stuff, fine. But it's going to be humanoid more often than not because that's what you use to build an army in D&D. Unless you're doing something from another plane, in which we need to talk about. Because this is a legendary power that Brennan is seeing take place. We got to talk demons. We got to talk devils. We got to talk celestial. Where's this power coming from? Where did it take its root? And how did this person wind up with the power to do this? So there's going to have to be a continuation because, like you said, you could take out John, you could take out the witch. Why not take out her master too, as the true BBEG and end all of the campaign? So who is that? Would it be in such a dark power? Devil, demon, something like that. Beasts of all kinds, pretty much. So your wolves, bears, anything like that. But like he said, the monstrosities, I would probably go for more of the exotic ones. The ones that would have some kind of video game-esque feel to it. Like Elden Ring, the massive bear that comes charging off at you.
Yeah.
Something that may be something like that.
What was that game that you had to climb the Titans to defeat them?
Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, something like that.
Something similar to that. To where it's like taking this massive surge in magic in a low magic world has corrupted some things to where now you have this ridiculous bear, you have a ridiculous froghemoth, you have a ridiculous like wolf, demon, devil, whatever. Or maybe it's opened some kind of or maybe it's pierced the veil a little bit and some things are coming through, giving power to certain things that shouldn't have it.
Interesting. We'll go back to the like biome, environment, landscape, all that stuff. What would you go for that, Jeremiah?
Like what biomes are you going to encounter?
Yeah, biomes, environment.
Well, the witch herself actually stays in a decrepit, burnt wasteland.
Okay.
This used to be a very thriving forest, but years ago, hundreds of years ago, there was this great battle between the good guys, the army of the Empire or Kingdom or whoever, against some evil necromancer spellcaster. The details are lost to time. But ever since that battle, this little forest has been scarred. The trees, they grow in weird shapes and never bear leaves. The dirt itself is as black as soot. There's like this kind of perpetual fog, like over top of the forest.
So like a negative energy hanging over this forest.
Sort of, yeah.
Okay.
The magic here, though, has a weird effect, and that's a different story there. But we'll get into that later. So she lives in this, and her base is there. People usually stay away from it just because, there's so many bad things that happen. And, like, everyone knows, like, don't go into that little wasteland at night.
Yeah.
But before you get that, there's actually this little mountain range that kind of separates it from where the kingdom is mainly at.
Okay.
And that's kind of like one of the big, like, geographical
Big
problems.
natural barriers.
Yeah, because you got the army and you got to get through that mountain to get to either side of the battle. And that's why it's kind of almost at a stalemate.
Okay. What about you, Rob?
I see it entirely differently.
Okay.
I see this as a Nor campaign. John and the woman has disappeared. You have no idea where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
Even after months and months and months, people search around. They have no idea.
Okay.
Why? Because the witch has been in plain sight the entire time. She doesn't live off in some kind of decrepit house or anything like that in a barren wasteland or a swamp or under a mountain.
She's the baker on the
She
corner.
walks the streets of kingdoms and leads to their downfall for
Okay.
those who she chooses to rise to power. Right? So, I see 3 main biomes.
Mm-hmm.
A smaller, dark biome, not so much as dark as, like, there's no light, but something similar to a Everglades. Just the whole
Like
area.
a dark forest.
Yeah, a very
deal.
dark forest with knee-high water throughout just about the entire thing. Not a swamp that stinks, but like an Everglades that's beautiful and green and has extremely dangerous creatures in it. The third would be a rolling hillside with mountains and everything. That's where the kingdoms, hint, kingdoms, are set up. 6 or 7 of them.
Okay.
6 or 7 different kingdoms. And then a third, a frozen wasteland to the south, in which only a few reconnaissance teams have been able to go and scout very little of in the past. Now, there's also going to be a massive ocean separating all of this from each other. The Everglades is going to be over on the western side of the entire continent. Now, the main continent is going to have 2 or 3 out of the 6 kingdoms. The rest are going to be a couple continents away. There's going to be 3 or 4 different continents. And then there's the one to the south that's just pure ice. So now you're coming into a conversation of where's John? How are we going to get there? What's in the ocean that we have to be worried about? So you come into this idea for that specifically and the witch, to where you're having to figure out, with this being a low magic world, you have to be able to now track magic. You have to be able to sneak in, sneak out, obtain information that is not easy to get, track, tell, follow, whatever, disguise yourself and everybody else, forgery to get it access to certain places. And in between the kingdoms is pretty much like these farmlands, but when you're within the kingdom, think Camelot. Something similar to that.
Okay. Let's see. We'll go back to the different planes. Oh, Rob.
Well, like I said earlier, when it comes down to where could this witch have gotten her power? Because that's where, even in the American mythology, where witches were getting power, they were getting it from the devil, is what everybody said. In the olden days of like Greek and Roman mythology and even in the Norse, they were getting the power from a greater power. So where does this witch get her power from? Well, obviously it's a dark power. Obviously it's going to be an evil-like power. It's going to be the ability to control the actions in the mind of somebody, or to put a cloud of haziness over their mind to where they no longer see reason.
Yeah.
They no longer have conscience. And I think there are two that stick out. I don't think aberrations have any place in this world. It just wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. Not with this being like a medieval type deal that I'm building anyway. So demons or devils? Now what's the most dangerous out of those? Demons.
Yeah.
They're a little more scary. They're a little more powerful. And sometimes they have a little bit more magical capability, depending on which one you pull out of the monster manual. So, I think there would have to be a plane for like the nine hells. I think there needs to be a prison realm as well for those that the demons have deemed to be unworthy of their titles anymore. Almost like a throw them in the brig, treated as like a military,
Okay.
pretty much.
Says, we don't like you anymore. Get out.
Yeah, but also throw in the astral plane as well.
Okay.
Something's got to fuel the magic that's going to take down this evil magic as well. So within this prison realm, both the astral plane and the nine hells have prisoners there. They coexist.
Okay. So it's a neutral plane.
Except there's a Cold War. Which is exactly what you are the Noir for.
Interesting.
So now there's not so much planar travel, but planar spying.
Yeah. Interesting. What about you, Jeremiah? What kind of planes of existence we talking about?
Well, here's how it's set up. All right, you've got what you would call the material plane, the real world, is right in the middle. Okay, and this includes like the space around it, like stars and whatnot. Then around that is sort of a ring of one more extra plane. This is where magic comes from.
Okay.
All right. Now on this ring plane, there are different territories. You've got the celestial territory with angelic beings like that who hardly intervene on the material plane. You've got a more fey-like, nature-based like territory in there for, and this is kind of more like the woodling creatures.
Fairies and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
They will sometimes go to the material plane or try to, or mess with the material plane. Then you've got the devilish and demonic territories, and they kind of coincide with one another. It's kind of in that territory. It's just kind of a free range. Whoever has the territory at that moment, who can make deals or power over other fiends,
Okay.
and they are actively trying to gain more power from the material world. And one way to do that is to, make bargains, have someone sell them your soul, or their soul to you, right?
Yeah.
Another way is you kill them, you get the soul. That's like a very common thing. And if you are responsible for that killing, or the direct cause of it, that's another way to get it. However, their access is limited because people are so wary against them.
Yeah.
But all magic comes from these planes.
Okay. Interesting. So kind of like if you looked at it like it was Earth, the outer crust and what we see today would be that plane, and down in would be the material plane and all that stuff.
Yeah, in a
Okay.
way. Also, casting certain types of magic or certain types of spells has a small chance of allowing a gateway for a being from that plane to enter the material world.
Okay.
If
So
it's divine magic,
Yeah.
such as from a cleric or a celestial or divine soul sorcerer, anything that's clearly divine has a chance for a celestial to show up. Usually they'll say, hey, and then leave, unless there's a reason for them to stay. Nature-based things like rangers and druid. Casting a spell has a low chance to open up a gateway for a fey-like creature to kind of travel through, and they'll usually cause like a little bit of mischief or go hunting or something of that nature and then leave.
So you're literally pulling your magical ability from the other plane.
Yeah, and they can kind of hop on that little pull.
Okay.
Now, any kind of arcane is the demonic territories.
Okay.
So things like from wizard, base sorcerer, a little bit even bard, pretty much. If it's from an arcane source, they can be used in that way.
Okay.
Now, the more powerful the spell, the higher chance.
Oh yeah. The more of the pull.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
So that's why it's kind of a low magic.
Yeah.
Is because you're messing with powers you don't quite understand, and
You'd
the
have
risk.
to study a long time to be able to literally pull
and
magic
experiment
from the
and
other
risk dying every time you call on a magical power.
plane. Okay.
Because here's the thing: a celestial being might as well just kill you for summoning it, because it was in doing some responsible duty it had in the plane.
Then you pulled it out of another plane and be like,
Yeah.
"You little prick!" Stab.
I had papers to file. Smite.
I was in the middle of. Don't worry about it. Okay, let's see. We've got the biomes, planes, creatures. What kind of races are we talking about? Jeremiah?
Nothing too crazy. Really limited to the human, elves, dwarves, gnomes, halflings. No dragonborn, because I said there's only talk of one dragon in the entire world that's ever been known.
There is always that one bard.
Yeah, but he didn't make it. The animal races like Tabaxi, Leonin, and the other ones, nah, they're not there.
Okay.
Giantkin, like Goliath and Fearbowl, probably not. Tiefling, very rare. And they usually have to be outcasts, because usually they will get killed on sight.
Oh, yeah. Be more demon-like, yeah.
Yeah. Azamar, even rarer, if at all.
Yeah, because both of those would be
I wouldn't
like, pulled from the planer.
I wouldn't let the players play an Azamar, because that's how rare they are. They may encounter one hermit Azamar in the entire world.
One outcast that's been living in the forest for hundreds of years.
Yeah, because...
What about you, Rob? What kind of races are we looking at?
Mainly human, maybe a couple of different subspecies of elf.
Okay.
I think I would throw in the shifter, specifically after the magic has started to take hold in the world. That would make easily possible for druids to have started coming up, because I would wait longer for, instead of it being just 4 or 5 months down the road, it'd be 10 years. Okay, for that magic to really start leaking out into the world and give rise to druids and give rise to shifters and stuff like that.
Okay.
But the animal hybrids like the Leonin, the Tabaxi, the Minotaur, no. I agree with the Dragonborn. The Dragonborn doesn't really have a place with there only being, that
so you're
one.
planning on taking this to a long campaign?
Very.
Okay.
Very. Where it is danger at every turn and when it's least expected, whether it's by your own hand or not.
Okay.
So you have to watch your own back.
Yeah.
Because you never know when somebody in the party might get paid off with this being so heavily driven by like spy stuff.
Okay. Interesting.
But mainly humans and elves. I'd probably throw in some half-orcs. And I probably wouldn't go much further than that. Just have those 3 or 4 different races.
I didn't even think about half-orcs.
And obviously that's going to include orcs and half-elves and stuff. But the gnomes, halflings, and stuff like that, probably not.
What about goblinoids?
I don't really know if they would have much of a place unless they were going to be. Like this is going to sound bad, but I would probably have them be the servant race.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I'd
it's how they
probably
would be the only small race.
I'd probably put half orcs and orcs in there somewhere.
And the dwarves died off a long time ago
What's with you and dwarfs dying off?
because they do.
That's true.
I'd probably have goblins be just an enemy species.
Kind of like a wild animal just out there in the woods having
Yeah.
their small
They have
groups.
they still have culture and civilization,
Yeah.
but they have at no point in time intention on being integrated or integrating someone else into
Okay.
the culture.
They don't have any aspirations of being the great
Hu-
civilization.
Human enough tastes too good to let them be members of our society.
Yeah, okay.
We also don't have time to learn their language.
Speaking of races, what about politics between the races?
Well, I know Rob was going the multiple kingdoms route.
Mm-hmm.
Are you asking me or him?
Yes, you can start, Jeremiah.
Okay. Well, obviously you have, in my version, you got that dark place, the wasteland.
Mm-hmm.
No one has any kind of politics there
Yeah.
in public.
Okay.
You obviously have the main kingdom that is the king has just died for.
Yeah.
That's kind of the central government for that setting. And they rule over this vast land, which has encompasses like other previous independent city-states. After, a huge conquest, turning this kingdom kind of into an empire, but still
Okay.
maintaining that kingdom name. And whether it be through, we have more men than you, bow down, or like, hey, we have more resources, join in because you have a resource we want, it's beneficial. Whether, depending, there's going to be few little towns and cities that have various degrees of respect and loyalty to the crown, especially during this change of power.
Yeah.
It's mostly no one is wanting another war
Mm-hmm.
because there's been a relative amount of peacetime, and they have enjoyed that kind of prosperity despite everything, problems that they have had. It's been a prosperous time. And with the which brother was gathering the army? Was it John or Joe?
Let me look
The
back.
older or the middle?
It was the middle brother.
Middle brother.
Yeah. I believe it was. Let me look back. See, I wrote this down, but I can't remember.
Diabetes will do that to you.
That and cancer. John was the middle brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's the one gathering the
Yeah,
army.
He's the one that
All right.
started this.
With him, with the threat of him gathering an army to take over the kingdom, there is a kind of a split between the brothers, as usual when it comes to a changing of the king.
Yeah.
There are some, and it hasn't really blown out of proportions yet, but there are obvious sympathizers with John who support him being the new one. Some, believe in him as a person or him as a political figure. Others are doing that only because they don't want to fight another war.
Yeah.
You also have people who are ready for another war. The more warlike cities who have barracks and garrisons, that renowned martial colleges that teach people how to go to war.
Yeah.
Some are ready to go to war. They've been waiting. They've had men in the barracks thirsting for battle,
Training constantly. for
ready.
Something that'll come.
So you have this kind of tense tension of civil war happening at any moment. And it's kind of up to the party to kind of circumnavigate that, because that could get them in some real hot water.
Yeah.
Especially with them kind of being in an active force of trying to get to John.
Yeah.
Now, of course, there's always going to be meddling from the witch, from her base,
Of course. Yeah.
and from her actually going out in person and, meddling in things. So, yeah.
What about you, Rob? What kind of
Repeat
politics?
the question one more time.
politics between races, between kingdoms.
7 kingdoms for each of the 7 races. They mix easily, but they all have their own kingdom. So a
Okay.
human, there'd be a half orc and an orc king, a human king or queen or whatever, but they don't mind each other.
It's about majority of
Yeah,
the
they go where
kingdoms
they go where the jobs are.
Yeah, okay.
And they don't mind each other at all. Now, if you're an orc in the orc kingdom, then yeah, you're going to get the job before the human would,
Okay, yeah.
because I mean you're an orc. But you know it is what it is. It's
Yeah.
expected. Now, when it comes to the relationship between the kingdoms,
Mm-hmm.
that's where it gets a little hairy. You don't know who the witch has influenced, so you got to be careful where you go. John's hiding somehow. He's not hiding in the wilderness. What's the best place to hide?
Plain sight.
Exactly, like she's been doing for centuries.
Okay.
So she has already got a couple of other kingdoms under their mist, and now he is completely hidden within that kingdom. And now you run the danger of revealing your location and identity to the witch while searching for him.
Hmm. Well, that could be interesting. All right, we've got politics out of the way. We've got races. Now I know, Rob, you've been talking about more of a intrigue and stuff like that in the campaign, but how would a campaign go from start to finish? Well, not start to finish, but like start and continue.
It would literally have to be a assignment where you are given partners on this assignment.
Mm-hmm.
So at the session 0, it'd probably be like the DM saying, "Hey guys, you need to be like, hey, you're some kind of detective, you're some kind of spy, you're some kind of officer, whatever."
So this ain't a normal meet at a tavern.
No,
Except
this
class
is
can go off.
this is very not, because this is
Murder.
not a low level campaign.
Okay.
With what you have to be able to do, this is not a low level campaign. I'm thinking from levels, probably start at level 8 and go to level 17.
I could see that with all the intrigue and sneaking around and all that having to
Yeah.
do.
So now you come into the point of you get to start. You start looking around. How do you keep it going? Simple question. The simple answer is keep moving, John.
Mm-hmm.
By the time if they eventually find a way, and yes, make a way for them to free these people from the effects of the witch. By the time they've got that done, because it's going to take a while, she's inflicted somebody else, and now they're hiding John.
So always searching for John, but helping
Constantly
other people.
having stuff pop up in between that's giving you clues, roadblocks, answers to certain things, side quests all over the place, stuff like that.
Okay.
Having to report back to your commanding officer or commanding kingdom or the king or Uncle Bob, specifically. So, or Uncle Ben, sorry.
Yeah, it's Uncle Ben.
Uncle
He
Ben
makes
specifically.
rice for a living.
Yeah. Reporting back to Uncle Ben.
I'm going to play a
And,
monk named Peter Parker in that game.
But here's the interesting thing. You're not working. It was Joe was the one that ran away, right?
John was the one that ran away.
Okay, Joe's the one that's gathering the army. And
Joe's the older brother. John's the middle brother.
okay,
And Arden is the younger brother.
okay. Arden and Joe are sitting around, just kind of, Joe wants to kill him. Arden wants to save him. Uncle Ben wants to find him.
Okay.
Choose between those 3. It's just in this world, y'all chose Uncle Ben, and now you're on the hot trail of having to clean up and dodge Joe's guys
Okay.
while stall Arden's guys. Follow them, stall them, make sure they don't find them before you do. And there could also be secondary motives within the party, of the party.
Mm-hmm.
You never know.
Party members been paid off to do a little something extra.
Now, I'm a big fan of consequences, good and bad. Whatever happens to John, that's what's going to determine the outcome with the witch.
Okay.
Now, if John is killed, a fight with the witch is inevitable because
Yeah.
she's going to start hunting you. And she's going to do some evil things in which you're going to have to start hunting her back. Now, depending on if John is not killed and is indeed saved, then you won't have to go after the witch's master. Because then the witch will just be a failure. But if John is killed, then it'll be a vengeance type deal.
Okay.
To where now you have to cut the head off the snake instead of just letting it go.
So it unfolds more the more the campaign
Yep.
continues. Okay.
It all depends on what takes place, when, and where.
Interesting. Jeremiah?
So here's what happens. The party isn't involved in the conflict from the get-go at all.
Mm-hmm.
They're just a group of adventurers who join up, maybe a local adventuring guild. The adventuring guild has, various different, specialties. Escorting people. Acts more as like a mercenary group for hire rather than just adventurers. Most of the land has kind of been, mapped out already, except for, the barren wasteland and maybe in the mountains where the dragon may be.
Mm-hmm.
And no one really goes there except for a crazy few. So they do jobs like, escorting other people, like merchants and whatnot. Maybe some local, like filling for some guard duty. There's a plague in this town. Hey, can you just guard this area? And they'll have some random encounters with criminals, have a little bit of law authority backing them up.
Okay.
Still not able to, kill without discretion,
Yeah.
but,
They can't go full murder hobos.
yeah. And they got probably about, a few months of doing this. And also they'll go and treasure hunt in dungeons. And they'll retrieve things. Bring that back for the guild, get a cut. There's various things that they can do. It's going to be a very free roam esque kind of opening. You'll give them quests, which these quests don't just serve as like, here's simple time things. What they are actually doing is they are setting up what comes next.
Okay.
Because here they'll be introduced to key NPCs that can help or hinder them in the second phase of the game.
Okay.
So the second phase starts when, the Joe and Arden, they realize that John is almost finished amassing his army, and they have little to no defense on it. So they are basically hiring the guild out as, I'm sorry, but you are now required to serve. This is an emergency situation.
Okay. Been drafted, basically.
Yeah, and this is going to change the role of the party. If the party was more focused on combat, or not combat, but like guarding places or escorting, they are essentially going to be guardians of key important places and people.
So the quest they feel would be...
If they were more of the treasure hunting kind, they are going to be more infiltrators or retrievers of information.
Okay. So basically they're filling out a resume as they do their
Yeah,
initial
and
quests.
you'll keep track of this.
Okay.
And this kind of will help the DM kind of tailor the game to what the party is doing. Because that first bit, they are literally choosing what they want to do.
Yeah.
And so the second phase is, going to follow their same play style. Now, of course, you can still throw curveballs at them. But also, quests that they are going to be doing during the second phase is gathering important NPCs to their cause.
Okay.
And retrieving certain artifacts that could help them out.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one quest is like, hey, the legend says that the dragon doesn't like witches. We have nothing else. Go to the mountain, try to find it. And they'll see if the legend is true or not, if there is a dragon in the mountain or not.
Try to recruit the dragon to their side.
Or at least gain some insight because the dragon's old as heck. See if he has any knowledge on the witch, and that leads to another quest of like, yeah, there's this MacGuffin out there, here over there, go get it.
The dragon told us of something we can go use or something.
And so it's just kind of, and they'll level up through that and kind of basically amass it. Now here's the thing. They set the pace.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So it's still a free roam at the end. You will still give them what quest to choose from. Because at this point, when they enter into the king's service, they're already pretty respected guild members. So it's like, hey, where to put your stuff together.
So basically they get like a quest board they get to choose
Yeah,
from.
it's like, here's the things we need done. We need you to figure it out. Now, so they set the pace. They can take, break time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we're just going to take a week off. That's perfectly fine as long as you're like, in the kingdom right there, ready in case the army comes. The problem is they have a clock, a timer. Because after a certain amount of time, that's when the army strikes. And if they haven't built up enough, if they haven't gathered enough resources or defended enough key crucial points or, basically prepared, then it's not going to go well for them.
Okay.
Because, the army that this guy is building, he's not just bringing an army, he's bringing the witch. Because the witch is actually working for a dark master from the demonic territory.
Okay.
And what she is doing is she is channeling this very large amount of magic that she has into the soldiers. So the kills that they are delivering are now currency for her master.
So she's going to be a vital part of that battle.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the MacGuffin could be something that kind of cut off her power or cut off that channeling.
Interesting. Let's see. What else would there be? I guess my final question would be, what would be the master to the witch? The final big bad evil guy. What would he be? Michael?
Ross Perot. No, I'm kidding. I would say
I was going to say Kanye West.
one of the more, I would say one of the more powerful demons in the realm that happens to be in cahoots with one of the Celestials. How do you think this power got on the material plane and nothing was ever done about it? Because this is some serious power.
Yeah.
This is too much power that the Celestials know that this should not be happening. Somebody kept it under wraps.
Okay.
So now all this spying, all this information gathering has paid off to where now you and the armies of man, once you were able to convince the kingdoms, and you're going to actually have to convince them. You might be able to go in with one. You might be able to go in with 6 or 7. But you go into battle with the demon and its followers, and the celestial and its followers.
So you're basically saying like a demon general and a celestial general, one power. So they're okay. Interesting.
It's humanity versus the army of light and dark.
Okay. And a whole spy game in between.
Yep.
That might be actually pretty good.
And after that battle's done, if you win and the human army prevails, then there goes into the trial in which humanity is put on to explain to the big demon and the big celestial exactly what was going on, which puts into very big importance the information gathered.
Okay.
This is one of those things you want to pay attention on.
Lots of note taking.
Yes. Very heavily story driven with more than enough action to keep you interested.
Interesting. What about you, Jeremiah? What's the biggest, baddest evil guy in this campaign?
Everyone thinks that the witch gets her powers from the demonic territories.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't. So you may think, oh, so it's just an evil celestial? No. It's a fey trickster. Because the celestials are too busy blaming the demonic territory for the problems. The demonic territories are too busy calling the celestial sticklers for the rules.
Yeah.
That the fey usually are just kind of forgotten about.
Yeah.
Because they don't cause too much problem. You know, they do a few practical jokes. But this one is going to do the biggest practical joke of them all.
Okay.
She's convinced the witch that this is actually a demonic territory power when it's not. And that witch has kind of convinced the whole world that the new big army is, demonic in power. There's not a single clue that leads to it being a demonic thing. The magic that is used is clearly nature-based. So the witch's spells are limited, but she still has things like, charm person, mind-altering things like a fey would. Her spells are going to have like dark leaves kind of sprout out, maybe even dead leaves as part of maybe a magic missile. She'll have like things like thorn whip. You'll see like her magic throughout the probably big battle at the end, but you won't see it like fire and brimstone. It's going to be thorns and twigs and vines.
So she's saying it's all the demons and stuff, but when she's using her magic, everybody's like, "You sure that's demons?"
Well, no one knows enough about magic to say. They're like, "Oh yeah, a bunch of
So it's still
thorns
all a
are
mystery.
piercing out of this dead body and making it come to life. That's demonic."
Okay.
So this fae is planning on making a big reveal after this fae has the witch win the battle. Then this fae is going to reveal to everyone. Psych losers, you thought this was demonic? Nah, this from the woods, ho. That's the fae's big goal. It's just a big prank.
It's just a really big practical joke on everybody.
It's just like, hey, look, you didn't expect this, did you?
And they'll sit back and laugh while the world burns, basically.
The world just be destroyed. That's the fae's main goal, is just to basically say, you didn't expect me, did you?
Yeah.
And that's the fae's entire plan. After that, there is no more plan.
There's no plan of I'm just wanting to destroy the world for blah blah blah. It's just a big joke. It's a big practical joke.
Leave it to Jeremiah to have his entire campaign that takes a year to play to be an entire one big practical joke.
Yeah.
Joke's on you.
And if the witch gets destroyed, the fae's just like, I'll try again later.
Fair.
Interesting.
Like, the fae will have no qualm against the party because of it.
Yeah. It's just something that happened during the joke.
Yeah. It's like, they ruined my joke, but I'll wait till they're dead to start the next one.
Yeah, give me a few generations. I'll play another one. Both very interesting campaigns. Lots of consequences in both of them. One more RP driven, one more seems battle driven. But it's interesting. And I would play either one.
That's because you have no life.
That is true.
I mean, I would play either one.
Yeah, I would.
I would probably go Samurai and Jeremiah, though. Because that feels like it needs a Samurai. And Rob's, I might actually try Rogue.
This the whole party of rogues for Rob's game. What's y'all's party's name? Rob's Rogues.
Hey, there we go. I'll take that.
R&R.
Looks like you need some R&R. Rogues and Rogues.
Roll for damage. Yahtzee.
Everyone's just holding their action on this guy they've all sneaked up on. Alright, I'm holding my action until the last sneak attack is drawn on him.
And they've all
And then
got
it's everyone just doing a sneak attack simultaneously.
they've all got 10d6 in their hands.
just
roll.
Yeah, that'd be rough.
Insta kill.
There's also one who didn't get the memo. He's playing a bard, College of Whispers.
He's still trying to sneak attack.
He's trying to sneak attack his vicious
He's
mockery.
just following the crowd. What are we doing here? What's a sneak attack?
What do you mean, assassin? Did I just
Surprise.
whisper?
Pulls out his ukulele. Ring.
Well, you say that it could be a full group of rogues, but good luck getting a whole lot of information.
That's where the board comes in.
That's where an order domain cleric comes in. That's where certain paladins come in.
Listen, I don't think I need a zone of truth.
I need a zone of rogues.
I have a zone of sneak attack. Who needs the truth?
Have one just regular guy walk up, no weapons. I've got you surrounded by rogues. You're going to tell me what I want to know.
They're using their reliable talent. You can't see them.
And an
Funny thing
artificer.
is, the rogues were never there.
And there's an artificer sneaking around here somewhere.
Oh gosh, Skyrim crouching the whole way.
Or you cast Zone of Truth and you tell the guy while he's in it, we have an entire arm. We have you surrounded by 12 rogues right now, all with crossbow bolts pointed directly at your head, and you accidentally step in, and it's like, that was a lie.
Step in while you're talking. No.
Well, I think it went pretty good.
Yeah.
Sounds like two very interesting campaigns. Off of one backstory kind of thing. They went two totally different directions.
Now all you got to do is come up with another one for the next one.
What is that?
Who knows?
Don't know yet. Don't know how this is going to do.
Oh, I'll start working on it.
Now it's on you guys.
Yeah. Well, that's been this improv world build.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, we didn't have that. We didn't have either of those worlds like planned out at all.
I had no idea what I was going to do.
Maybe next time we'll like build like one world together. We have to work off each other.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Or how about the next time one of us asks the question and it's the other one and Eric?
Oh boy,
Eric
we'd be
has-
sitting here for 3 hours while Eric's just like,
Sorry, I didn't have a lot of time to prepare.
Give me a week. And I'll give you 2 sentences.
Could you imagine uploading a week-long episode?
wow. Well,
The amount of ad space you could put in that.
I mean, yeah. You might actually get paid.
Yeah.
well, in the meantime,
Keep on rolling high.
we'll see you next week.
It's D&D.